Good morning. Welcome back to Expert Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. We are talking to the CEO of British American Tobacco, Mr. Jim Lafferty, and he answered several questions that I did not ask him. And so anyway, let's explore that further. So Jim, I heard what you said. I heard that people can make a choice, and whatever the tobacco company, however ethical they are, and they are doing good to the farmers, they are doing good to the government coffers. They're making money, you know? But big picture thinking, I mean, how many of us want to be involved in something that we know is essentially doing harm to people, to individuals? What about your opinion on that?
I think that one of the things you have to look at is the total impact on a society and how that company can help. And it starts with job creation. You know,
Okay.
I employ directly and indirectly hundreds of people with very competitive packages that helps them to take care of their families and their personal needs. You obviously are developing the economy and investing in infrastructure, investing in facilities and in vehicles and in plants and in sites. And then also taking that money and doing corporate social responsibility. Not only taking the profitability of a business and investing back into that business, but investing in the society that we work, live, and play in. And, you know, tobacco companies, certainly, you know, our major competitor here, Philip Morris, Fortune Tobacco, has invested hundreds of millions of pesos into this country, into building schools, into building infrastructure, facilities. That's corporate involvement is key to any development of any economy. And that's what you have to do because, yes, tobacco is a questionable product from a health standpoint. That's no doubt about that. But, you know, I've sold lots of stuff. I've sold sugar water.
Sugar what?
Well, what is
a sugar
soft
water.
drink? What is a soft drink?
Coca-Cola,
I mean,
right.
if you drink Coke or let's say Pepsi or RC, what real difference is that making to a nation? I mean, if you take the big picture that you refer to, yes, I sell tobacco, but I must find ways to do good with what my job is, because even when I was selling Coca-Cola or orange juice or orange drink or water or laundry detergent, I didn't have a sense that I was like changing. I mean, I wasn't the sense that I have when I coach kids or if I did work that I've done with UNICEF. Then you feel deep in your soul that even the core work, it touches the society. But in most of the businesses I've worked in consumer goods, I haven't had that kind of feeling. What you get is you say, I'm going to take all of what I do and make the best out of it. I'm going to take the corporate money. You know, when I went to P&G Poland, I can remember the numbers. We gave about a couple $100,000 to charity. When I left, Procter & Gamble Poland was the largest contributor to charity in the country at $7 million. That was me. I made those choices. That every time the profit went up, a huge chunk went to charity. By the time I left, we were the largest contributor to charity in the nation. That's how you give back. We built hospitals. We built neonatal clinics. All of that was done with corporate money in a successful company. Now, the wrong thing to do is to say we're going to take all of that and suck it out and it goes back into the shareholders or it goes back into investment. You need to share back to the very people and the very society that has made you successful.
Wow. Well, it does make a lot of sense. What you're saying is that you do the best with what you've got.
Yep.
Yeah? And also you put out the right foot all the time. But the question that comes on my mind is, where do you draw the line? Sugar water, caffeine, what's the chemical in cigarettes? Nicotine?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? How severe does it have to become and say, okay, this is where we stop doing the best we can with what we've got? It's just a question on my mind.
It's a good question. It's a good question. But, you know, as a physiologist, I can assert quite clearly that if I take the example, obesity is very quickly becoming, if not the number one or number two, it's almost in every part of the world, the number one or number two health crisis. You know, the food industry has to take part responsibility for this. You know, governmental agencies have to take responsibility. The dietary advice that's been given.
Right.
I mean,
people in the know,
I can make a decision, and I told the NGOs here in tobacco, I said, you can make a decision in your life about tobacco. You can stand outside the industry and throw rocks.
Right.
I made a choice to be a part of the industry and to enact change
From the
inside,
okay.
and to be a part of a company that's very ethical and honorable and trying to do the right thing with tobacco. And I think my approach has been as effective, if not more, than anything that has been done from the outside.
Good. So, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's park the question there. Maybe leave it for some other venue, some other forum.
Absolutely.
No? Let me come to the subject matter of the day, winners and champions.
Yeah.
No? Now, this is your call, and tell me, how do you differentiate between the two?
Well, it's a great concept because many people use the terms interchangeably. They'll say, you're a winner or you're a champion. They use it in a completely interchangeable way.
Yeah.
They're completely different. And a study was done that really shook me when I read it. It was done in the late 80s, early 90s in the U.S., and it looked at winners versus champions. And the definition was, a winner wins once or occasionally. The champions win consistently year after year after year. And if you look at sports teams, there is differences. There are teams like Manchester United that's always competing for the championship. And there are teams like Leeds that did win the UEFA once, but they've never won it again. There's the Brazilian team that has won multiple World Cups.
Right.
And then there are other teams that have won it once or some that have never won it. What's the difference between those two? And they did a study.
Yeah.
And I think the outcome of that research is so credible and so useful for any business. And what kind of business do I want? Do I want a company that we make our targets once and then we miss 5 straight years? Yeah. Or do we make it every year? And so that became relevant. There was a number of factors. First was obviously they win all the time. Secondly, the champions have what's called a sense of the historic. They recognize that they're in a special place and they won't lose it. So they looked at teams that got to like the Olympic final. Yeah. The champion says, we're in the final. We may never get here again. We're going to win. There is no second place. We're not debating a silver medal here.
Right.
The winner, which may or may not win, says, we're just honored to be in the final. This is such an honor to be on this stage and to be. Yeah. They miss it. The sense of the historic is you don't miss because you may never get back to this game again.
Right. So let me try to paraphrase that. So what you're saying is, so when two or more than two, several people reach a certain milestone, and they say, okay, this is good. Some others say, this is good today, but I can leave a legacy, I can leave a mark.
Absolutely.
Is that the correct?
Yeah. And you can see people like, there's multiple players who have made multiple, like Wimbledon final, U.S. Open final, they've never won. We can think of a number of them. There's multiple players today ranked top 10 who have lost every final they've been in. That study will tell you that their attitude is very different from like a Rafael Nadal or a Federer. Federer will say, I'm in the final. Don't congratulate me for making the final. I will only want victory. The other side will say, I made it to the final. This is amazing. I'm so excited. My first final. They're going to lose. That they've already lost. Because the sense of the historic says, I may never get here again. I'm not walking out of that stadium without the trophy.
I read a study. I mean, let me. I'm not supposed to share, but this is about somebody conducted a test on a good basketball player. They placed him near the court and said, how many times can you throw the ball into the basket? And he said, you can do it once, twice, thrice, 4 times. Huh? And then what happens to you once you cross it 10 or 15 times when you shoot it right? What happens is they have this internal conversation saying that, oh my God, I'm doing way too good for myself. And that's when they fall.
Right.
So is that true in business? Is that true in every other field?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Success is one of the worst things that you can have in business because it creates complacency and arrogance
and
in an
this
organization.
Sense of awe of yourself.
Absolutely.
So tell me, how do you bring this thing into people you work with, into your teams that you lead? How do you drive them with this spirit? What are
the first thing it starts with is you paint a picture of the future, a vision. Why are they there? And I don't think when companies say we have a mission, and the mission is, I had a disagreement with a company I consulted with a couple of years ago. Their vision was to be the most profitable. It was a family business, and it said we want to be the most profitable X business in Asia. And I told them that's not inspiring to anybody. What you're basically saying is everyone's job is to work their butt off so that this family becomes even more of a billionaire. That's not motivating. That's not motivating. They want to know that they're a part of something more special. So if I take like my time in Nigeria, good visions take from the society and take from the dreams of society. Nigerians there are many good people that Nigerians. What's always troubled me is how the country is painted into by one brush. Wonderful people. They want to be world class. They want to be known that like Nigerians have talent, that you can take a Nigerian and they can go anywhere and be effective. So the vision we had for Coca-Cola in Nigeria was...
You had. Way back, or it still exists?
It's still there.
Yeah.
Still there. That's the vision I wrote in 2010, which was we will become a world-class company that makes Nigeria proud.
Right.
Now, with that, people say, I can be a part of the first company in my country that becomes world-class, where what happens is, let's say in the Coca-Cola world, they say, we need a great engineer to go to Brazil and to work on this line.
Yeah.
Go get somebody from Nigeria because they're amazing. Everybody out of that plant is world-class. That's how, in P&G, we used to talk about different countries. When we would look for expats, people would say, oh, go to Holland because they're amazing at this. You know, you get reputations because the expats that go out do such a great job that they build the reputation of the country.
Right.
With that vision, people became inspired. They become inspired to say, I'm a part of something bigger than just selling soft drinks and making a profit. The vision is no longer about being a profitable company. The vision is we'll become world-class, and then in doing that, of course, we will be profitable.
So this you're saying that you try and find alignment with a person's core, his essence of who he is or what he wants to be.
In a sense, but I think that what everybody wants to be is they want to leave a legacy in this world, and they want to be a part of something special. And the great organizations create specialness. They say, you're a Marine. You're one of the few, the proud. Yeah. They create a sense of belonging. And what a great vision does is it creates a sense of belonging. I said, I'm a part of a special group that not everybody can be in, and we're doing special things, and we have a vision that is very aspirational. That's the start point. That's where many companies and organizations fail, is they say, they just go and do business, and they reward short-term things, but they never paint people into, what does this all mean? What am I going to be in 10 years? What legacy am I leaving? Do I feel like I'm a part of something special?
So that company that you were consulting with, the family corporation, what kind of final analysis did you leave with them when after that conversation?
Well, they were not happy with their results, and one of the reasons is I believe it always comes back to people. You know, if you take care of the people, the business takes care of itself. Their view was that people were interchangeable parts. You know, you're just a cog. If I get rid of you, I can find somebody just like, it's no big deal. Yeah. That was why they had no retention, why people were unmotivated, and they didn't get the best out of their people. People were collecting a paycheck. But to convince people that was the reason was difficult, because they came from a different environment. They came from a command and control family business that then went global. Then went global. Now, in their home nation, where they had connections to government and they had certain special privileges, they were able effectively to win with that. But when they went out and they started hiring people in New Zealand and Australia, and they now have to motivate these folks, that command and control system doesn't work. And that was one of the reasons I came in to say, how do you help them globalize? And the big thing was in the corporate culture.
From what I understand, enterprise development, that means building a whole machine towards success, towards championship. No? People are important. I grant you that. But also it's structure. It's also skills. Yeah?
Sure.
How much is the balance? How do you balance and juggle that? How much weight and time and nurturing do you give people? And how much time and attention do you give to strategy and market conditions?
Well, structure is an enabler or a disabler. Right. So if you have the improper structure, you can impair your people. But even in a poor structure, great people will still find a way to shine through. Skills and people are completely linked, because people, you look at basically 4 levels of ability. Knowledge is the base, but that's easy to fix.
Okay.
Skills is next. It still is fixable. You can train them. Then it's attitude, Now it's becoming difficult to train. And the last is trait, which is impossible to train.
Right.
Trait would be, as an example, someone who's only 4 feet tall and they say they want to play center in the NBA. The trait isn't there. You can train knowledge of the game of basketball. You can train specific skills in basketball. But I can't train someone around their height. That's a limiter. Attitude is also a partially limiter. Is if you get the right people that have the right attitude and you have trained them well, you can work through
the skill,
the structure, and from there the structure is manageable, the skills are manageable, and basically then it would get down to how you're executing the business. What are your strategies to win?
In the world of coaching, where I also participate, and we also work in OD, organizational development, and we feel that every few months, over a period of time, we need to revive that little motivation in people, the vision, alignment. In your perspective, and you're as a coach, how often is that required and how necessary is it? I mean, what are the differences between teams that don't need that kind of a motivation, teams that need it?
I think that it varies. Each person is individual. The best coaches view people as individuals. And some people are motivated by me putting my size 45 shoe right up their rear end. And other people are motivated by a hug.
Okay.
And a hug and a pat on the back. It varies by person. The best coaches tailor their coaching to the individual. Organization, I believe in consistent motivation in coaching, but at the end of the day, the most important motivator of an individual is themselves. I do play a role, but whenever I have someone say to me, I'm not motivated because of my boss, I instantly think that they're missing the boat. Because even in my worst boss days, yes, there's a vacillation in motivation level, but my range would go from, let's say, 120% to 95. It wasn't
because
120 to 50.
Pressure, yeah.
You say out of pride. Out of pride, it's still my work, and I still believe in personal accountability. Right. So, yes, the boss or an organizational leader plays the role, but one of the reasons I only really interview on self-motivation when I interview potential employees of BAT is I will create an environment, I will treat you right, I will take care of you, I will invest in you, I will take a bullet for you, but at the end of the day, you still have to be motivated to get up and do. You still got to do the deal.
Wear your own pants, no?
Yeah.
So now you're also a family man, Jim, and I looked up on your website. You have great stories about family and looking after kids and being a tough daddy, no?
Yeah.
From the playing field to the business marketplace to the family, what are the differences, if any? How much do you have to change? Do you play the game differently at home?
Not very much. I've always considered my role as an organizational leader as very much as a father, which means sometimes you do tough love. And you do things. I mean, there have been times I got very tough on a young person working for me this past week. And I sat them down. They did.
This is at BAT?
This is at BAT.
Yeah.
And it was very much no, I didn't put my arm around and say, like, I'm like your dad. I said, let me be really clear. This is never going to happen again. And, all of my kids can tell stories of when I got very tough. I mean, one of my daughters, an hour before the prom, I told her, you're not going, call the boy and tell him not to come.
Yikes.
And I did that on purpose because it was so bad what had happened that she needed an indelible lesson never to do that again. She's now 25, and she says, that changed my life. That moment.
And how old was she that time?
17, and this was the biggest night of her life. And I told her, tell the boy not to come, you're staying home.
I'm a father of 3, and you're a father of 5. No? So I've had moments like that where I thought I need to put my foot down. And I must confess that I've not always been successful. No? Have you had failure in that scenario ever with your family, kids, and
Absolutely.
say, oh my God, I went wrong here? Even though you thought that you're doing right.
Absolutely, but I think it depends on what your definition of failure is. In a short term, Dad, I don't like you. Yeah, I failed many times. You got to see how this plays out, and you have to see. I mean, one of the defining moments of my family was Christmas of '92, when my kids were young and we were starting an expat life, and I grew up poor.
This was in Africa?
We were living in Africa at the time. I grew up quite poor. My parents died when I was, still in my early 20s, and I didn't have much. I didn't have much, and so I did the mistake many people did, which was now that I'm making a little bit of money, I will now make sure my kids don't go through what I went through, which is actually depriving them of the whole thing. by 92 Christmas, we had bought lots of gifts, but not exactly what they wanted. And 2 of my kids were crying opening gifts because they didn't get what they wanted. And I blew a valve. And I ruined the whole Christmas. And I put all the presents in the car. I put all the kids in the car. We drove to the drop-in center of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right.
At St. George's Church. We went in. I introduced him to the priest. I said, my kids are going to serve meals to the homeless people. And then they had a little Christmas party for all the homeless people with their kids. And I made my kids give every single gift away to the, and I could still see my daughter crying with the Barbie doll.
Oh my God.
And the girl in the street taking it, and she wouldn't let go.
Oh my God.
And I had to say, let go,
Ouch.
and then she let go. And they got nothing for Christmas. They gave everything away, and we went back home, and, obviously my mother-in-law is upset. Where were my grandkids? All that. But you know what? Every year now they say, remember when Dad made us give? But it took 10 years to play that out. And they learned a valuable lesson, which was about be thankful for everything you have. Don't be spoiled. And you know what? There's no such thing as an entitlement mentality. It's not credible. But it took time, and they didn't like. That whole Christmas was ruined. Brother-in-laws didn't want to talk to me. All my sister-in-laws thought I was a jerk. My mother-in-law was angry. My kids were crying constantly. They had no gifts. But you say, I got to decide: am I a long-term parent, or do I play for short-term love?
So, question. That takes a lot of guts, and you do claim to have a lot of guts, and all your life's performance talks about a tough guy,
Yeah.
Now, right from wrong, in the sense that no matter how brilliant we are or how successful we are, we always have the doubt that, am I doing this right long term, yeah? Or is it really, really right, or is it just about me thinking it's right? How do you come to that conclusion saying that it's me thinking it's right, or it's really holistically right? How do you come to that analysis? I'm sure you do.
I do.
Yeah.
I tend to try to look at, different.
Besides long term, yeah.
Long term, but I try to look at also what I would call, for lack of a better word, like spiritual philosophies, from Christianity to Buddhism. But what do you really think is right in the long term? And try to look at history. I mean, if I take as an example, there are many things that are argued today that resemble arguments that we had, like discrimination. There is always a discrimination argument in the world. Look at what Russia has done, the laws they have passed against gays.
Right.
Now, they used to do that against women.
Yeah.
Today, we look at that and we laugh, and we say,
Today
we were lost. We were lost.
Yeah.
But now, there's a new battle. The way I look at it is, history is going to be very harsh on people that have used sexual orientation as a means of discrimination. But it may take 20 or 30 years.
Maybe longer,
but it will be a very harsh judge. And so when I have been supportive, and I have supported all of my gay, lesbian employees completely 100%, and support diversity, I've looked at it as a long-term view and say, I'm on the right side of this. Because these are wonderful people. I have wonderful friends who are gay. They're wonderful people. There's no issue. And I don't let some kind of dogma cause me to judge another human being.
Right.
And then you play that out.
So in conclusion, Jim, I'm looking at you letting the person, the individual, make his choice. You are letting people exercise free will. So you're big on people exercising free will. Is that right?
Life is choices.
Right.
It's all about choices.
Great. Jim, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.
Very insightful, very powerful stories. Your plans for the rest of your life in the Philippines, is that what it's going to be?
Absolutely. This is a wonderful country. This is home.
Yeah.
It's the birthplace of my son, and there's no place in the world.
You want to tell me a bit about your son? I read it, and I want people to hear about Kenji, is it?
Kenji is my fifth child. He's a Filipino orphan from Antipolo.
Right.
And it's, again, a story of serendipity. I was done with kids. I had 4. They were all potty trained. I'm done.
Yeah.
And then an orphanage that I had been helping asked for a little bit of help over Christmas because they had taken in this baby and there was no staff.
Yeah.
We take them in, and it starts with you only want to help, but then you fall in love.
Yeah.
And then you realize that I can't save the world, but I can save one. Right. And we decided to take that little boy, and he became my son. And I love him as much as every single one of my kids.
There's a couple of British people at the British Chamber of Commerce, and they've done the same thing. They've adopted kids, and one of their challenge was becoming legit fathers to these kids. Did you go through that process too?
You mean the legal process?
Yeah, yeah.
It's very difficult, but I don't begrudge anyone. I think that, you know, if I look at the DSWD and the work that was done by the courts, they were very thorough, and they were doing the right thing under the, you know, you now have the Hague Convention of 2009.
Yeah.
Which ensures that these parents are right, because you did have trafficking going on in the world of adopted kids.
Yeah,
so
I would agree with that
they,
too. Yeah.
they're being, yes, they were very tough on me, but rightfully so, and I don't have any, it was painful and scary, but as I look back on it, they were doing their job.
Yeah, but think of it. I agree with you. What if they went wrong?
Right.
What if they went wrong? Jim, fabulous. Thank you very much. So is there anything else you want to say, announce something, an event, or whatever, some closing remarks for that little camera over there?
No, I think that if anyone ever has to, you know, I love to talk to people and to learn things. If anyone ever wants to contact me, just go to jamesmichaellafferty.com, and I'm happy to engage in your questions and help in any way I can. Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you.
Gracias, muchas gracias, senor. So that was Jim Lafferty, coach, consultant, and CEO to British American Tobacco. And I hope you liked his insights on winners and champions, and of course on tobacco and babies and kids. So have a great weekend. I'll see you next week with Brian Lane and Jennifer Simmons, and we will be talking about bouncing back into life. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan, and this is Expat Insights. Thank you for watching.